Well, as the first anniversary of the Russia-Ukraine war approaches, it's tomorrow now, Russia's president has met with China's top diplomat, the two countries vowing to strengthen ties. Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden has met 9 NATO leaders in Poland, reiterating that the US will defend every inch of the territory. Joining us live now is retired US Army General and urban warfare expert John Spencer. John, good to see you. Thanks for your time. So it's, time goes so fast. Here we are. We're a year into this war from tomorrow. I guess the obvious question here is who's winning at this stage?
That's a pretty easy question, actually, Peter. That's Ukraine. Well, Putin lost the war a long, long time ago, and Ukraine won and will win. It's just a matter of how many Russian soldiers will die and the cost to Ukraine to achieve their goals, which is to get Russia out of Ukraine.
Why are you so sure about that? Because Russia still has so many troops and such a heavy and advanced arsenal behind it that it can always call on.
Yeah, so some of it's just from studying the history of war throughout time. And the things that people think win wars isn't usually what comes to mind. It isn't the weapons or the technology, it's the will to fight and the soldiers. And Ukraine has shown that they're going to fight until they win to achieve their freedom. And that's what it's a fight for freedom. And even old Chinese military theorists from 2,000 years ago knew that it's your alliances that matter. And Ukraine has over 50 nations supporting its fight for its freedom and for human rights. And Russia, they're going to China, but China doesn't back losers. Russia is alone in their illegal war in Ukraine.
Well, just before we get to China, how much time it's winter, there's been the colder months, things have died down just a little bit, so there will be offensives that will emerge as the weather heats up. So how much longer do you think this war has got left in it? How long, if you think the Russians are going to be defeated, I'm not so sure about that, but if you think they are going to be defeated, how much time have they got left in them?
Yeah, that's almost impossible. Really, it's a decision. Like you said, Putin has millions of men he can force and literally force to the front lines to die, and he doesn't care how many he'll kill. I mean, does this go on for years? I don't think so. Does it go on for months before the Russian military has to culminate in multiple spots when they can't hold ground anymore? Some people believe we're already seeing the Russian spring offensive, and if we are, it's really underwhelming because Ukraine's coming with something very strong like they did back in September. And as that Western armor and other new weapons, they've shown that they take anything they get and they use it to great effect. I can't give you a point of when this ends. Putin could call an end to this tomorrow and say he won. He has that much control over his country, but he's not going to do that because he's not a good person.
What did you make of the speeches this week? There were competing speeches to mark this 1-year anniversary. Joe Biden, he was there in Poland, and you had Vladimir Putin there speaking in Moscow yesterday. And mind you, he's just met with Wang Yi, China's highest-ranking diplomat. What do you make of that kind of that bro down, that flirtation that's taking place in Moscow? Should the world be concerned about that?
No, I don't. I mean, I do think the world should be concerned and doing everything they can to aid Ukraine to end this war sooner. Putin's putting a global tax on the world, on all of us, because of his illegal interests. And by illegal, United Nations and most multi-international organizations recognize what he's doing is illegal. The president of the United States' strength and his words, I felt those. And as the leader of the free world and of all the other nations that are giving so much, there is strength in that. And in Putin's comments to include canceling the latest rounds of nuclear de-escalation, all I hear is weakness, and weakness in position, both militarily and politically. I mean, Putin has destroyed the Russian state's global position, as in its diplomatic position, its economic position. Every day he continues, Russia gets weaker, and every day Ukraine fights, it gets more allies and becomes stronger.
But as for this meeting between Putin and Wang Yi, what does that say to you?
Yeah, I think and it's not the first time, but I think it's Putin looking for help, a sign of weakness. China's already said, I don't want anything to do. And last time they met, Putin had to publicly say, I recognize your concerns. But for me, China doesn't back losers, and Putin's a loser.
But if Xi Jinping ends up going to Moscow, do you see that happening?
Even we talk to people that aren't good people, right? That diplomatic effort, I think, will move forward, and it won't have great impact on Putin's war in Ukraine. I think it's perfectly normal for leaders to talk to each other about many options of exports, imports, and hopefully somebody can talk some sense into Putin.
Do you think, and do you mirror the comments that were made by Anthony Blinken this week that China is, backdooring weapons into Russia?
I mean, I take any amount of information that comes out public like that as very valid and very concerning.
He didn't have much evidence to back that, though. It sounded like a thought bubble, but, are you still taking him at his word?
I am. I don't think he has shown pretty strongly, unlike some people of the recent past, that when he speaks, it's very thought through and deliberate.
Okay. Retired US Army Major there, John Spencer. Appreciate your time, John. Thanks for joining us.